it is super tempting, like, because you know the job's comp better, you know your lifestyle will be a little bit better, you know, like you could still do the similar job, just a little bit better, yeah. And so I think it is super tempting. So for me, I realized pretty quickly I didn't love the financial engineering part. When we talked about like inversions and like reincorporating in Switzerland and like all these things, like I wasn't getting excited. I actually was super interested in like what happens after we pitch this merger? Like what actually happens after we do this carve out? Like what actually happens, like, you know, in the end, like what kind of synergies are actually realized? And so for me, I was really thinking about like, okay, this seems to be in operations and that is not what I'm doing right now. And so I realized pretty quickly, I was like, I probably should not recruit for private equity. Like that is probably not a great fit for me. Like, cause I'm going to be building LBOs until they come out of my ears. Right. And so like, I'm probably not going to know what actually happens, like sometimes maybe after it, cause maybe it gets turned over to an operating team, like, you know, et cetera. And so I knew pretty quickly, but I still had a lot of those conversations anyway, because you do have a little bit of that FOMO and you're like scared. You're like, oh, what if I'm missing out? And so I think it takes a lot of conviction, honestly, if you're not going to go that route. Like we actually have a lot of friends who have now reached out, like, you know, I have the benefit of hindsight now that I'm happy that I did what I did and didn't recruit. But we have a lot of friends now who are like 5 years in and they're like, Jane, like, I still don't know what I want to do. Like, I just did the PE thing and I'm still kind of lost. Like, what should I do now? I was like, I don't know. Like, I have no idea, like, what you should be doing. Like, only you really know that. And so, you know, I would say, if you like finance, right? If you like any parts of the job, like if you like the modeling part, if you are like, I really like talking to these companies, like I would say like it does not hurt to go through PE. I think it has great placement. You learn a lot of great skills in it. But if you are like, I do not enjoy this, like maybe consider not recruiting and like thinking about industry jobs.
Yeah, it's a great point. Because I think if you decide to go down the MBA path, which we'll get to in a second, doing what you do pre-MBA actually really matters, right? So the further you push back, I totally agree with Jane's point. The further you push back that self-introspective journey of finding things that you actually like, you sort of end back on square one just now 4 or 5 years down the path. And it's sort of, I always think of the opportunity cost of time as the biggest opportunity cost in your life and your career. So I think that it's a brilliant point, I think, Jane, that you're bringing up. So